Okay, we will call to order the City of Nisswa Local Board and Appeal and Equalization meeting for 2023 to order, and we will turn it over to the county.
Thank you, Mayor. Folks in the audience, what'll happen today is the city council makes all decisions here today. We have the county staff here. We're doing a little bit of training, and then for ourselves, and we are here to advise the city council that they, in facts, reasons why we did what we did. We're here to obviously answer any questions. Just so you know how that works, it'll be, as you sign in on the sign-in sheet is, how we call up. Hopefully you'll just come up here to talk to the council, ask questions, we need, but at the end of the day, they all make the decision. Their decisions today that they can make, they can make a vote for no change. They can make a change to lower your value. They can make a change to raise your value. You can make a change to your classification. So I'll advise that it's got to be based on the current use of the property. And with that, no taxes are reviewable by the council today. And only the 2023 property assessment is to be heard by them. No previous assessment. But only for the 2023 assessment today, just so everybody kind of gets that. What happened in the city of Nisswa this year? 52 improved property sales. And what we do with every sale is we take our value that we had from 22, divide that with the amount paid or price of the 52. Each individual one, our value divided by the amount paid for the property gives you an individual ratio. 52 of them, state statute requires that the median sale ratio, so basically the one in the middle, needs to be between 90 and 105%. Out of those 52 sales, after all the adjustments that we made to the city of Nisswa, our median sale ratio is at 93.9%. What that tells somebody like me, kind of statistic guy, is that the vast majority of properties in the city of Nisswa are not overassessed. You could actually argue that, there's could have went higher. Just say that just it never makes anybody feel better, but that we try to be a little conservative because we know that for the second year in a row there were some substantial increases in market. With that, I would take any questions from the city general before you guys do your first appeal. Am I speaking loud enough? You're gonna yell at me.
There
Is
you
that
go.
better? Okay.
Do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Mark?
No, I don't.
Let's get started.
First one, I just want to make sure David Liu, if he not here, okay, Dave Foster, you would be up, sir. I just don't keep it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to me today and for the time. I've never been in front of you before and hopefully I'll never have to again. But just a little background, I've lived here my whole life. Grew up on Lake Margaret and my kids all grew up in Nisswa. They still live here and work in the community here and do a lot of volunteer work, and I'll fortunately be finally being able to live up here full time this year. But in regards to the taxes, I bought my house or my property on the screen back in 1996, and I paid $140,000 for it. Okay. And
When was that, sir?
1996.
Okay, missed that, sorry.
Yeah, and like I said, my kids all grew up in that house. And my idea is that it'll go down from generation to generation. Very special to them. But I've looked at the tax increases since 1996 and they've always been fair. That's why you've never seen me here before. Okay, I understand that values have gone up. Okay, but last year and this year, they're going up more than I can afford. I mean, in 26 years, okay, they went up an average of about 37,000. Okay, and it went from 140,000 to 971,000 increase. And now last year and this year, it now went up in 1 year of, almost $500,000. And, I understand, because I've heard it before, that just because the value goes up doesn't mean the tax goes up. Well, I had my biggest tax increase ever this year. Okay, my average tax, went up was just a few $100s a year. And I don't mind that, because I love the community and that's what I invest into. Okay, but my lot is a unique lot because it's shaped like a K. So I might have a lot of lakeshore that you can see that's unusable. And it was an old resort that was a dump. I crushed about 7 gray water tanks that I didn't have to. I sealed a sandpoint well that was 10 feet off the lake, and I cleaned it all up and made it a home for my kids. But I'm being taxed on values that I don't think are fair and appropriate. Okay, and my taxes went up over $2,000 this year. Okay, and I'm now trying to subdivide it because I'm going to have to be forced to sell part of it. Okay, because I can't afford the tax, which isn't right. Okay, and now I'm running into problems because now the city of Nisswa, all ordinances are changing. They're saying there's new ordinance, even though last year that Bethany said, no problem, you got plenty of land, we can do it. Okay, now this year I'm going through tons of things, and I'll be here in one of the next couple meetings once I get the surveys and stuff done to accommodate the ordinances. But I only have since 1996 very little into it. Okay, because I've done a lot of the work, myself and with local, I think everybody knows Warren Anderson Gramps. He's been here forever. He did the work. He did great work, but he did it at a very fair price. Okay, and it may look nice, and it is nice, but it's not that big. Okay. So what I'm trying to get accomplished is, in the whole tax history, and I can leave this for anybody if they want all my, if you're into statistics and numbers, that's what I did. And once again, I want to be fair, but I don't think it's right that a citizen that grew up here and their kids grow up in this city should have to sell their home because they can't afford the tax anymore. I mean, that's not right. And it's not all about me. It's about everybody in this room and in this community, because I don't know anybody that's been happy, and I've never seen a decrease in all my years. And, look at inflation, look at the stock market, look at rates. You talk to any realtor, who's buying these places for these comps? Okay, they live in Tennessee and California and Naples, Florida, and they're in trusts and LLCs, are paying cash. Well, why should my taxes have to be affected dramatically by people that are multimillionaires and billionaires? And I know a lot of the people in the community. They're great people, but I look at my value compared to theirs. So look at the comps that haven't been sold. Lee's place over there isn't worth 5.7 million, or the new boat deal he put in isn't 3.3. I mean, you're telling me that's worth almost as much or a little bit more than mine? Come on. And I think that if somebody wants to build and pay that much, no problem, that's America. But they should pay a tax based on that value. I mean, that's that Proposition 13 that California has, is that people can buy or build and the values can go up by market value, but the taxes can't go up unless you sell or make a change more than 2% a year. And that's good. You know, I like that proposition, but try to talk to our Senate and stuff about that. They're butting heads and they can't get anything done, you know? And I'm not here to discuss politics or we'd be here all day. I'm trying to get the community and the people on the board here to recognize the fact that it's not just me, it's everybody. But, you know, I don't want to have to sell my home because I can't afford to live here.
Can I just ask it? Is this homesteaded? I didn't think that it was.
No, I have a house because my business, I'm in the investment business. My business is in Wayzata. So I'm selling that this year. I'm retiring up here. And I can't sell it because, you know, my kids said, Dad, we don't want to live down there. We want to live up here. And I said, okay, I'll commute. So next year it'll be homesteaded, but I can't sell my house with, because I don't want to pay all the tax on the gain, you know, and so this next year it will change. And I already looked at the tax difference. It's only a few $100s anyway for a seasonal to a, you know, a resident, you know. And once again, my kids did go to school here and they work here and they volunteer. Sophie, you know, does all the buttons for Jubilee, you know, and donates time and stuff. I want them to live their lives here without having to move. And you know, what is a reasonable value? Well, I mean, comps aren't a great deal to do with a reasonable value because people can write checks if they're billionaires. They don't care. They're going to put it in an LLC. They do it for tax purposes. They're going to put it into an irrevocable trust. It's tax purposes. Okay, I can't do that, but I want my home to go to my kids and their kids, you know, just like I did, you know, and once again, I have flexibility, but I don't want to have to move out of a community that I love because I can't afford to live here anymore. So I don't know how you go about assessing. When I looked at all, I mean, last year they gave me 4 properties. Okay, and I looked at the purchase price and the market value was less. So why, if they buy a property for 1.6, aren't they taxed on that? You know, they're taxed less. Okay, than they purchased it for. Okay, and now I have to compete with those numbers. Okay, and you know, and even Grandview and the Coates, they're great people, great pillars of the community. But when they sell and buy stuff, they write a check. I have to work for mine. And it hasn't been a very great week because of taxes were due too, income taxes and then property taxes. And, you know, so I'm here because I need to, and I want to make a difference in this community. And because I'll be moving up here and living permanently, I may be on this board someday representing the best interests of the people. Okay, and Nisswa was a pretty cool city, you know, and great people, but it was built and developed from people that grew up here. And sure, you can't change that. If somebody wants to move here from out of state, that's fine. But, you know, think about taxing those people based on the values. Or, you know, Ronnie Ames over here is a good friend of mine and philanthropist. Okay, well, you know, he's going to build a pretty nice house over there, you know, and he should be taxed on whatever the value comes in. That shouldn't necessarily compete with everybody else's because there is no similarity, you know. And because my lot is irregular and I have a very heavy slope, it should be devalued based on that. And even Bethany says that it would, because of the changes in ordinance, it's non-conforming now because the rules were changed, and I don't even know what'll happen because, I'm not gonna subdivide it and then be forced to build a house on it to sell it. Last year, I thought, in 2022, the value that went up $477,000 was at $1,000,001, and they asked me what a good value would be. Well, I haven't done anything different to it. I don't mind a inflationary. What was inflation? 8.6, 8.7%. I mean, I understand that. Okay, but when it's in that 47 to 28 to 47% increase, I mean, that's not fair.
So Mr. Foster, I just need to point out that your property went up 1.1% from 22 to 23. What you're talking about currently, the board
Yes.
does not have the authority to change that from last year. Your property value went up to the 1.607,000. That's only 1.1% increase from last year's assessment. Just
Yeah, I saw that at
The-
18,600. I'm saying that value isn't correct. So whatever I have to do, whether
Sure.
it be here or the county or the tax court, I'll do whatever I can to save my house.
sure. If it's that tight, you gotta save your house. Unfortunately, in the state of Minnesota, when it's viewed that it's your second home, we hear the same thing from folks trying to just stay in their one home,
Yeah. I
not the
agree.
second home or third home. And so that's what homestead helps people with. You have chosen not to homestead this property. And while I believe you're actually correct that it might only make $300-400 difference on the bill that you have to take down to the county or send to the county for the overall property tax.
Mhm.
The big benefit for these types of homes to be homesteaded is the property tax refund program. The state of Minnesota has put a lot more resource into those programs in the last few years and target two ways that they will give relief. One is an income-based way and it's how much is my income? How's my tax? And you just basically line up the numbers if you're eligible or not.
Right.
The other way is if your taxes, and yours did, went up over $100 and 12%, it's, almost would be an automatic refund. Unfortunately, this isn't a homesteaded property, so there just isn't a lot of options for a second or third home in the state of Minnesota currently. I think there could be, if you do choose to move up here from a tax standpoint, some things that could help you. Today, not so much from that. As far as the value goes, if you believe the 1.6 million is wrong, we here's the three most similar comparables
Yeah.
that we believe are good indicators that if you were to put your property for sale, what is it going to be sold for or offered? And you got 255 feet of frontage. We know that it's got some elevation. But if you take the first one that's on Roy Lake. If you take the first comp that's on Round Lake, I'm sure you spent way more time, of course, on this chain than I ever have, even though I've been on here a whole bunch of times. Is it easier to go under 371 through Bishops, or is it more accessible to go up through Spider, Upper Gull, come down through Zorbas to get on Main? I call it Gull.
Yeah, like when I was on Margaret, I understand that.
I just think where you're located might be a better situation than trying to get under 371.
It is, that's why I bought it. Okay, in 1996, and it was a great price now and then. Okay, but it hasn't been every year since I bought it that values have gone up. I know people that went bankrupt between 08 and 11 when they paid too much for properties and then couldn't afford them anymore.
Sure.
Okay, and I've never seen a decrease. Okay,
If we go to your values history, there is a decrease on your property 4 years ago. So it went from 1,058,000 to 1,042,000. That's your 2019 assessment to your 2020 assessment.
1,058,000 to 1,042,000, right? And the tax went up $672 that year, even though the value went down.
Correct. I'm just saying the value was reduced.
Okay, it did it again. Okay, back in 2013. Okay, but look at the state of the economy right now. Interest rates skyrocketed. If somebody can pay cash for something versus financing, okay, the markets come down for real estate values.
So how it works for us is you can kind of think of us as a little more historian. So our sales ratio study, I should have spit this out earlier, so I'm sorry. Is our period of time that's in statute that we look at is September through to October of every year, October through September, you could say. So anything that's happened from October 1st, 2022 through current, we're going to use that data, but we use that data for the 2024 assessment. Everything between October 1st of 2021 through September of 2022, we time adjust all that to January 2nd, 2023.
Yeah,
And those are the values that we put against the previous year's assessment to know if we need to increase or decrease property values. So if what you're saying is correct, and absolutely interest rates as they climb, not only does it make it more not as affordable for folks to get into these homes and these types of homes, it really starts to limit the buyers. If that starts to where there isn't enough buyers to keep up with the supply, then the values will start to be reduced until people, are able to afford those. That data, if that's true, we'll see that for next year's assessment. But I will just say that we get roughly about 1,600 to 1,800 good indicators of market value. We've already processed about 1,000 of them for next year. And the vast majority of properties in this county have been sold for more than the 2023 blue assessment sheets that we sent out.
yeah.
Oh, still,
and
even in
once
this
again,
state.
I'm not saying that I can't sell it for that value. I'm saying it's not fair that my value for my home, it's not an investment for me. I'm not buying it, selling it like a lot of profiteers do. Okay, and I don't think the value's fair. And if it went up 3, 4, 5%, I understand that. Okay, but you know that it didn't go up that last year.
No,
You're talking 2023 to 2024.
And that's what we're talking about today, that 1% increase that you experienced.
But you said also that today you could agree to a discounted value. Okay, you said that at the beginning. Today, you'll decide what you're gonna do today.
They get to decide if they want
Okay.
to reduce it. Yes,
Should it be higher? Should it be the same, or should it be lower?
that is correct.
Okay, well, I get my tax deal. I don't have much time to research this, and do all the due diligence. Okay, so how do I do that? I come here, I mean,
Sure.
I'm glad it's on a Friday because I still work. Okay. And I'm glad even that I see some of the, city council meetings are gonna be, on Tuesdays and stuff. So I'll change my schedule so I can be involved because I want to be involved in these things. Because it's important to us, and that's why I'm here. I'm not here to bitch about these things. I'm here to talk to people that are part of the community that can help the citizens that live here and want to continue to live here. That, it's not fair.
So, Mr. Foster, all I just need to say is, this city council does not have the authority to change the tax system in Minnesota. It is based on your value. So it's an ad valorem taxation, property tax system here in the state. And what it is what could you sell your property for as of January 2nd in any given year of course, this year is what could you have sold it for as of January 2nd, 2023?
Well,
That's what they must consider. Not, oh, let's decrease values because we want to make a statement or help our
Sure.
citizens.
I
It needs to be
understand.
based on fact.
Well, in the properties that aren't listed on the comparisons that didn't sell,
Sure.
there's many comps that I can show you that are way undervalued compared to mine,
Oh,
okay? You know,
that's
I
the
mean,
other piece of it is that we
one
should
is-
be,
I mean,
we should be
I would buy
uniform.
that for 3.2 million in a heartbeat and could resell it. So why shouldn't that be adjusted? These other values.
Well, I definitely, there's a rhyme or reason, whichever one you're bringing up for the 3 million. I don't know exactly which one that is.
It's Lee's new boathouse and.
Oh,
stuff.
the one you drive by, yeah, and there's a reason why we believe that that's only worth 3 million or his house is only worth 5. Because we definitely have properties that are, I think, even nicer than his, that sold for 4 million. That I think you could put his inside theirs and they're only sold for 4.5, 5 million. There's a limit. There is a definite ceiling to the folks that have that kind of money that want to buy here in central Minnesota.
Uh-huh.
And that's all we're going off is we're acting to the data that
So if I
we
built a
analyzed.
$20 million house on my place, I'd still have a low value because there's no comparables.
I do think if somebody sticks 20 million into their home on gull or whitefish, I don't think you get it back.
Well, I've talked to some of the local representatives that, you know, and I'm with them in fighting that people want to put helicopter pads in their
Sure.
houses and stuff like that. That's not the community and the area where I want to live in, and I'm glad it was shot down.
Sure.
But once again, money talks in a lot of areas, and I think it just needs to be fair, no matter if it's 20 million or if it's 200,000. I mean, in my neighborhood, you know, Grandview's selling lots for 200,000 to 300,000. Okay, and then the land adjoining is at 3,000 to 5,000 an acre. Okay, is that right? Shouldn't that be a comparable?
Depends on what it's zoned.
Yeah, so all I want is to know that you're affecting the lives of the community here. Okay,
Sure.
and it's not just me. Okay, because I'm sure this room would be filled with people, but not everybody can take off work or even want to make a difference in this. Okay, I do. And so that's what I'm looking for is I'm here to talk to the people that make the decisions. Okay, I understand the rules. Okay, but you know, things like Proposition 13, those are really good foundations for communities because they don't affect the residents. They affect the people that are adding and buying and building and spending. Tax them as much as they're willing.
I just think you talk to Representative Heinzman
I
or
do.
Senator Eichhorn. Those are the folks, if that ever needs to gain track, you got to talk to your lawmakers down in St. Paul, not so much the city council.
Well, and
today.
I do, and I haven't always, because it didn't go up much. It was fair to me. It's not fair anymore. Okay, it's not fair. I have to compete with prices that multi-million and billionaires are paying.
So are you saying just recently multimillionaires or billionaires want to come here before they didn't?
Absolutely. And since 2020, look at the surge of people that moved up here and wrote checks.
Yeah.
It's dramatic. Okay. And once again, I grew up with the Andersons. They're great people. Okay. And they've been up here forever. Okay. And I would never say anything bad. I'm just stating comparables. Okay. Compared to the value you're putting on my property.
Sure.
It's not level elevation with sandy beaches and stuff like that. You know,
Agreed.
I don't have trees growing. I don't have, it's a K. It's not rectangular, which is in the ordinance. Looking at how they calculate out the values, it's irregular. Do I sell 50 feet that's worthless to me to a neighbor? I sold one of my neighbors a 1/4 acre when I bought it because he needed to do a septic system, not because I wanted to. Okay, but it's what neighbors do to neighbors. They help them out in those situations. It took away from my value. Okay.
Yep.
So that's all I'm asking for.
Okay. So we need to make a decision on what we want to do here. So I just to get some from the input from the county then, so we can either say a no change. If we do a no change, then Mr. Foster's next step is to appeal.
If you'd like to go to the county board of commissioners to appeal, correct?
Okay.
Right.
One question I have is zoning restrictions. Yes, we do have different zoning ordinances in place now because we had to. There was some issues with the zoning ordinances, and I always forget the water shoreland shoreland district, and that's commercial, that's residential, that's every shoreland district in the city. And that's from the high water mark to 1,000 feet back. Our ordinances had fallen out of compliance in some places, and there were some contradictions, and it was messy over the years, and it's gotten cleaned up and continued. So if the zoning restriction, we don't have a choice. We had to do those ordinances because there's a lot of issues that we had to comply with from the state, dictated, mandated to us. So if our zoning ordinance changes and he becomes a non-conforming lot, how does that affect his tax? The situation, is that something you guys take into account when you assess?
If it's non-conforming because it was a bare lot and you guys won't let them build on it, we would consider that. This has a very nice home on it. It's 3 acres with a guest cottage, garage.
Yeah.
That's the market. If he goes to sell, it's already existing.
Okay.
No matter what you guys do with your zoning ordinance, he's already got what he needs to
Right.
have built.
Yeah, and we can't, yeah, so, okay. That's,
But I did rip down a lodge, a duplex, and 2 other buildings too on it that I had to pay to remove.
This year?
No, when I first bought it.
Oh, yeah.
So there were other buildings on it, and when I did come to the city council for a variance or the meeting back in 96, I had it set up so that I could, if and when I wanted to, subdivide it and be able to do something for one of my kids at the time. Well, now my kids, they can't afford to buy or build on it based on taxes. So I'm gonna have to sell it to somebody, okay? Because I'm not gonna sell my home. I have to subdivide it, okay? And that's what I'm working with Bethany on, but what is that doing? It's cost me more and more and more and more. So I'm trying to make a difference, and I'm trying to respect your rules and regulations, okay, in the state and the city. But it's like anything, the rules change all the time. Whose best interest? It's never the consumers, you know? I mean, I already have that pole barn built that I built in 1998. Okay, and if I subdivide it, that's gonna be on the new piece. Okay, what's wrong with that? 2 of my neighbors have them too. Why do I have to build a house on it?
well, and my understanding, and without Bethany here, it's hard for me to say, so, but my understanding is that, you know, what's there existing now today would have to be allowed.
And that's why I gotta go to variance.
Okay, well, you know, to rebuild what's there today would have to be allowed, but then, you know, again, this is. The city doesn't have a lot of choice sometimes in how we adopt some ordinances because the state dictates within a certain zone area. But we're working on those ordinances. They're always being. There's just those particular ones haven't been done for quite a while. So what we need to decide is, you know, what we wish to do with this piece of property here now today, for the authorities that we have. So did you have questions, Jesse, or?
I don't have any questions, just response to some statements you have, and I want you to understand. The 3 of us, and then we're missing 2, I understand. We too have jobs in this local area. This is our backyard. I'm
Yep.
born and raised in this town.
Yeah,
I attended that little elementary school high school here, moved back into town. Our family's business has been here since 77. I
Mhm.
too know the Andersons that have the abundance of wealth that we all kind of use as the grand
Right,
common denominator of high net worth individuals. I also know people that don't have that.
yeah,
And those that don't are still having to go through the same assessment value that I even go through. My taxes personally on the property I purchased down the home I grew up in Tall Timbers have almost doubled since I purchased it in July of 2019. I stood up here, well, I was appointed in March of 22 and got elected for a 4-year seat in November. And we had to unfortunately increase tax levy to just maintain operations of the business. Or let me say, the city, which in one sense or another can be viewed as operations as a business, because we still have to maintain the electricity for the streetlights, et cetera. So I want you to understand that as a consumer and a taxpayer, we're both in similar seats. Granted, we are elected officials here. We know that in this particular case, you may feel as if it is a different situation compared to year over year over year. We have to work with the modern times, and we work close with the county and trying to make sure that this is fair and a fair assessment across the board.
Yeah.
This area is no different than some areas where when they've had their booms, like Tahoe, Naples, Florida, for example. This area has seen a huge influx of individuals families that have moved here and paid cash from a varying trust or a LLC. That's how it's transitioned. This is a very desirable area to live. I've seen the change over time. Somebody could come purchase my little Rambler for double the price that I bought it for just 3 years ago. Do I want to sell it? Absolutely not. I understand your points that you're coming through, and they are heard. And I don't have any other questions on it besides
Well,
passing it to Mark.
one comment I would make too, Jesse, appreciate that, is that I don't really get any services from the community either. I don't have sewer, I don't have water, nobody plows my road that 5 families live on and pay taxes on. I have to do it all myself, and those other comparable ones I looked at, they have those kind of things.
Sure.
too. I don't.
Well, on that note, I mean, in regards to services, I hope you don't take for granted the services that are offered on a more macro scale within the city. We have a very well-trained and sometimes overworked police department. I take for granted the electricity that operates the streetlight, or excuse me, the stoplight over here at the new roundabout, right?
Yeah.
When I came a part of the city, seeing the electric bill just for that particular stoplight kind of made my jaw drop. It's an actual cost.
Yeah.
It's something that we incur as taxpayers at the city that manages to make sure. So I hope you understand, just taking a step back, that there are greater services that we kind of do take for granted, and that I want everybody to be able to appreciate at times, because in order for the city, as we have to make our decisions to be able to increase a tax levy, just as we did in 2022, it has to be able just to maintain, and we have been growing, whether we like it or not. And I'll be honest with you, you're not the only one that maybe doesn't like it. I have a lot of neighbors that drive vehicles with license plates that aren't from Minnesota anymore.
Yeah.
And they come here and they expect similar services too.
True,
So-
and if you look at all the houses that Grandview is building on both sides, there'll be plenty of tax revenue coming in, and I think a lot of that was tax subsidized financing on those developments too.
No, sir.
No.
Wasn't,
No,
All
sir.
of that?
no TIF.
Okay,
None.
that's good to know, because that's what I was told a few years, maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Well, we're here to crush rumors. But one thing that we can't always do is to modify some existing structured tax code within the state. So I think the county's done a good job explaining their stance and their position, and I hope the rest in the room also understand that as well. So
Yeah,
we
so
can.
I guess the last thing I was to say, if you can adjust it anything, I mean, even from fair market value last year, it's something, so it makes a difference to people, and I can go to the appeals court and to the, tax courts too, to try to make a difference, because to me, I do feel that I have a better way of being philanthropic with my money than a lot of the things that the federal and state can do, you know? And once again, I'm a very community value oriented person, and when I'm up here, I will get, I'm already involved in a lot of different programs. And I'll continue to do it, but I also, you know, when I don't feel something's just, you're gonna hear from me.
And that's what we're here for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's not a problem. So I would entertain, is it a motion? That'd be the right term. I missed Don. I would entertain a motion on council's decision on this matter. Do we, no change, lower rate? What does council's desire?
You want the assessment to inspect the property and report back to the local board? Another option.
And you gotta make another date
Yeah.
for us to come back.
I know it's not, I'll just start then, I guess. I understand you're looking at 3 comps here, but I understand the comps even in my neighborhood for, like I said, my small Rambler. My small Rambler gets bought and torn down by somebody from Tennessee tomorrow. I don't like it, but it's unfortunately the reality of this situation that we're in as a community. I think your house, the valuation of this is exactly what you would get for it if you were to sell. And I don't see enough justification to adjust this at this time on my end.
Nothing.
I want mine down as well.
So no change.
It's only $18,600.
Okay, so. And then understand, sir, that, you know, our decision is appealable to the county board as a whole.
Mhm.
And then, and at any point in time, you can contact the assessor's office, you can get with the county. And if you have what I always, regardless of what we do here today, you can always get with them and say, okay, here are some questions I have. Here are some reasons I think that the property should be lowered in value.
Mhm.
Get with them, talk with them, set up a date, a time, they can come out and look at it for you and take that information into consideration and work with you. And you still can appeal that to the county board, our decision.
Yeah.
And I'll
And
make one more point.
Well, I was hoping
they
to
have
do that
done- they-
before this meeting, but they didn't have the time to come out this.
probably before this meeting, probably not, but. So,
And then another note, I mean, before I turn it over to them is,
When did he call?
I would agree with the county. There are many opportunities to be able to get some recourse back on the property tax, and that with the homesteading that you'll be doing to this property, you'll be able to reap the benefits of that. They base that matrix off of household income, of course. I'm a single male, so I know what mine is threshold. I don't know what the threshold is for the algorithm for the refund amount, but as that's homesteaded, you'll receive a refund to be able to help offset what you've been then paid in. When that time comes,
Mhm.
as this is a second home as of right now.
Yeah, I wish it was that easy.
Well, you sell that home in Wayzata, it will be that easy.
Okay, I am planning on it.
so I'll make a motion then, for no change, at this time from what was what has been, presented to us.
I'll second.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. So the next step would be to get with the county, and then I don't know, when does the,
So what,
this gentleman can explain that.
sorry, Mayor.
No, you're fine.
So what happens, we follow up with everybody with an official letter from our office. It states that no change was made here today. If you still want to fill further, I'll give you the date and time. You just need to make an appointment to get on the county board's agenda for May 12th, or June 12th, excuse me.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Foster.
Thank you now.
Thank you.
Yep.
Kent Wilking? If you have this sheet in front of you, just so you know, the average increase in the city was about 13%. On average, so that one there was 1.1%. I don't believe so, I just have this.
So we are here.
Good afternoon.
Go ahead, sir.
Afternoon.
My name is Kent Wilkening and my wife and I bought our property December of 2017 with the plan of moving up here when we retire. I retired 2 years ago in July and moved up to our property then. So we've been full-time residents up here for just about 2 years now. And I'll be really honest with you, I missed the boat last year when my market value went up 300,000 and I didn't come in and appeal it at that time. And now this year, I think it went up another 17,500 on the estimated market value. So it's went up quite a bit since we purchased the property. And I did call the county this morning because I didn't realize you had to have an appointment to come here, but the
You
gal
don't
that helped
for
me.
here. You do for the county, but not this one. You can just show up if you want.
Okay. The gal that I talked to this morning really was very helpful and did explain that most of the change was due to the land value. And not so much that my structure went up, but the land that it sits on. And I'm on Roy Lake. And I guess to be really honest with you, I don't expect you guys to make a change. But I would like to be able to go to the county board and just kind of state my objections. I know a comment was made about going and talking to your representatives or senators. I worked in county government for 34 years. I was elected sheriff for 22. There's no stronger voice than a city council going to their association or a county board going to their association and going up to the hill and saying enough's enough. I hear everybody, either city council or county board members saying, our hands are tied because it's a state law. Well, if you march up there with your association, you have 87 counties and county boards going up, and there's I don't know how many thousand cities, and they go up to the state capitol and raise their voice. Maybe they'll listen. And if you truly believe that the system is broken, I guess that's what I would ask. My property is right next to Dave Foster's, who is here. Like I said, I haven't made any improvements in the property since we moved in there. And basically what we're getting at is it's going up because everything else went up. The gal from the county did send me some comparables that I have this morning that I haven't really had a chance to look at. So like I said, it's one of those things. We moved up here to retire and leave the place to our girls when we're gone. I'm just afraid that they won't be able to afford the taxes on it. And they'll probably have to sell it. The other thing is, I don't know that I came last year to the budget hearing for the city, and because of all the values going up, I got a letter from my insurance company, and my home insurance went way up too, because the values went up so high that if it's something, my house would burn down or whatever. So I had to increase my insurance, and that cost me quite a bit in premiums because replacement costs went up. So not only did taxes go up, so did my insurance premium. So, heard last year at the council meeting for the budget, there was quite a few people here, the same boat as Dave, might have to sell their place because they can't afford it and they're on a fixed income. So like I said, quite frankly, I didn't look for you guys to make any adjustments. I just would like to state my case in front of the county board.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, just, they're just, telling what they want to do. When you come to the county board, I strongly encourage you to bring facts as to why you believe 900 and some thousand isn't correct on your property. If you believe it's not that,
That's what they're gonna be there listening to. They already have, you know, over the years, how the ad valorem taxation works here in Minnesota. You got some people that think it's broken and you have some people that think it worked just fine. You just gotta be understanding on your property taxes went up 22%. Take advantage of the property tax refund program. It doesn't show up here today. Oh, if you get $500 to $1,500 back to help you pay for your increase, that's what those programs are doing. So I strongly encourage you to take a look at that.
I'll do that.
Is this property homesteaded?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Board, do you want to see any comparables or anything? If you guys wanted anything?
No, mine's comparable and mine went up 50%. Property's been in my wife's family for 100 years. And it was the first year that we contemplated the possibility of selling. So I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, I don't have any other comment. I know that area well. That's a good neighbor you have right there, selling a quarter acre for sewer septic, drain field, yeah. I seen Roy Lake in particular grow up, pretty decently since I was a young man in this area. I think those comps seem to be in line, or excuse me, I think that the tax value seems to be in line, and I would make a recommendation for no change.
I'll second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Just for your information, board, you'll
Thank
get a
you.
letter, sir, stating when that date is. Just contact us so you can get on the agenda to speak with the county commissioners.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
Thank you. Just so, Jesse needs to. Use transfer for that. Just so everyone's aware, even though you may not get a change, one of the obligations for your elected city council is to hold this hearing so that you can come here and do this as opposed to, the county does do this as well. And, I was found out earlier today that we're the last city
City in the county.
we're the last city in the county that does this, and I believe we need to do it to give you the opportunity to come here instead of having to, I mean, that's what we're here for. You should be able to come here and lay out your case, and if nothing else, even if you don't get a change, at least hear straight from the county, what do I need to bring to this appeal? What's the best way for me to bring this information to you all when we get there? To be hopefully successful. So that's why I think we like to do it up here.
Sure.
So. And
Next good question.
Sure.
Has that appeals court ever? Or is there any?
You mean tax court?
Yeah.
court or the county board? Court or,
Court or I guess, sure, last year we had 5 days at county board. I want to say there was north of, I want to say it's like 70 people. I think there was 6, 7 changes. If they're warranted, I don't think any elected official would have any problem with that, but there needs to be facts. Because one of the things that we haven't talked about is the percentage that you went up or your neighbor went up. It should go right down the line and we've treated everybody the same. So unless there's something compelling to change an individual's value, if they do, it really needs to be warranted. Otherwise, they've just treated you differently than everybody else on wherever you're from.
Can you use existing comps versus new sales?
So to set the values, we use what you should be able to sell your property for. The other piece of that is that we should have you uniformly assessed. So if your neighbor owns 200 feet, you own 200 feet. You both have the same, let's say, elevation. Maybe let's just say hypothetically, you both have the exact same house. The valuations better be the same or we have an issue.
and we have done that here too.
Yeah.
We've adjusted people here. Last year, I think was a big year. We did a number of them.
6 or
And
7.
there were a number of people here last year. This is my 6th year doing it and I'm still learning. But there were a number of people here that brought it up to the county's attention that there were, you know, their home needed improvement things. There was certain thing they weren't aware of.
Yep.
And without coming out and actually being able to do a home visit, we even had one person who didn't want people to come out to his property to do it. Well, then I don't know the condition of the property if you don't invite them out to do it. And they were able to handle a number of things. So,
Julie Kraus. Guys,
Afternoon.
good afternoon, ma'am.
I am more here, I'm here to hear about trends. Last year you spoke about what the footage was being assessed at on Gull, on Round. I'd like to get that data again.
Well, I'm actually excited. I didn't know anybody was listening to me when I was talking and saying that stuff.
Well, I think I told you I do have property in adjoining Todd County.
Yeah.
And
yep.
like the speaker before me, I have 16 years in county government in a director's position. So yeah, I appreciate where you guys come from. But I've also learned from our Todd County assessor that Department of Revenue says this is how it shall be. So when you talked about the 93%, I hope that you can communicate to the Department of Revenue to keep it on the lower percentage range that you spoke about, the 93 to 105%.
That will vary. There's, I think there's 86 out of 87 counties have a county assessor, 2 counties share one. And I will tell you, it's gonna vary between county assessor. Here, I'm just gonna tell you, the best thing we can do is be conservative. If we push values to 100, or if we walk in here and say 105 or 104%, but in the eyes of the state, that's good. We still will have a packed house and a bunch of people leaving here thinking they're overtaxed. So I've only been here since '09, worked at Todd County, started down there in 2002. So, was that over 20 years in county government?
Yep.
I just think it puts us in a superior position to help people understanding we're not here trying to wring every dime out of their pocketbook, and just trying to be fair about things.
Well, I appreciate that it's on the lower percentage of the range that
Sure.
you have to work on. And I ask that to continue because that's really, I feel like that's all I have as a property owner is to be asking, what is the range of assessment? I've worked with the county assessor adjoining. I'm not able to homestead this property because of state law. And we live too far, we live too far apart from where we have property. But yes, I do monitor what the difference in taxes are. I've gone down to the legislature to ask them to look at this 4 parcel distance. It's been ignored.
4 township districts.
Yes, 4 township, thank you.
Yep.
4 township. It's been ignored because that means less revenue to the state. And there's nothing we can do about that. But again, back to my original question,
Sure.
What is the assessed footage on
Sure.
Gull, on
Yep.
some of the?
You can start, the last 2 folks here were off of Roy.
Mhm.
Roy Lake is at $5,600. That was an increase of $200 a foot. You are specifically on Round Lake.
Correct.
Round Lake went up $1,300 a foot to $5,800.
Wow.
So Roy is at 56, Round is at 58. Gull went up $2,400 a foot. It's now at $9,900. So if you have 100 foot on Gull, you're at 990,000, basically $1 million. There's an imaginary county line, right at Dutchman's Bluff, runs straight down past Holman's Point, and then it kind of hits right in where the yacht club is, and that's Cass County. They're at $12,000 a foot, where we're at 9,900 on Gull proper, I call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So those
know.
are some of the, front footage values. While, it was a significant increase. I always say the two, as far as value goes, highest value, you have gull and you have the whitefish. Cross Lake is at 8,800, I believe.
Okay,
Gull is by far now the highest valued lake we have in Crow Wing, and I know it is in Cass too.
thank you. And then how do you compute when you're looking at the lot? I understand the frontage on the water, but then, I'm trying to do comparables and I look at 1 acre parcels that have 100 feet compared to mine's almost 150.
Sure.
But it's more acres. I have less acres. How do you look at that? And
So take like, if you just zoom out a little bit, Sandra, how our methodology works for lakeshore valuation is where the ordinary high water mark is on whatever lake. Go back 200 feet. There's a 200-foot buffer all the way around the lake. And if your lot is 200 feet and to the shoreline, you're not going to have an adjustment. It is whatever it is as far as your quality of your frontage, with whether it's vegetation, elevation, maybe you have some swamp or something on your lot. But there would be no adjustment for size. If you have less than 200 feet, so you have a narrower lot, every 5 feet, we take about a 2% reduction, the narrower your lot gets. And that, depends on how they put the road in, or if the bay of the lake really swung up and, maybe made some of these lots really narrow because the lack of utility. And then if you have more than 200 feet, so the first gentleman, Mr. Foster, has 3 acres. So if you have excess acres, you have your frontage that goes up to 200 feet deep, and then anything over that, we're probably 15,000 an acre for lakeshore acreage on these lakeshore parcels. So it's additional value, if that makes sense.
okay,
Yeah.
how does a cul-de-sac impact a property? I have a huge cul-de-sac that eats into,
Sure.
eats into that. There you see it. Yep.
So how we would break this lot down is we're gonna go from the shoreline. First thing, we're gonna assess all the shoreline. But what that really means is we're going to basically go from that, I want to call it the south point. We're gonna draw a straight line next to I want to call that your north boundary. I hope I got the, and we're gonna kind of square up your lot, and we're gonna say whatever that frontage is, depending on the depth, if it's at least 200 feet and your width, 5,800 a foot. Then you're gonna have this little pie shape left. What we're gonna do with that is you have that much frontage, and we're gonna take the middle depth of that, and you're gonna get a depth adjustment on what's left of that pie shape. Because we can't treat you the same if somebody has a full rectangle lot.
Mhm.
You have less utility, thus less value, if that makes sense. Yeah,
Okay.
so that's how we, man, there's all kinds of shapes, sizes and
Right.
different things. The lakeshore modeling that we have, I'm not here to toot our horn, but trying to build some confidence is we get asked year over year over year to continue to teach the assessors in this state of Minnesota how to do it.
Mm.
We do like to think that if you can't assess lakeshore in Crow Wing County, they shouldn't employ us. And I just wear that on our sleeve,
Well, thanks for that information. Yeah, I'm not going to be eligible for any tax credits because of how it's classified.
Okay.
And, my, like I said, until the state of Minnesota decides, until our legislators decide to make adjustments, I'm just gonna have to make a choice here. And again, I support the previous comment of, please go back to your city associations, your associations. You have an association of assessors. Tell them that you haven't had fun meetings. I've got to believe you've got to, you've got to stay at the end of the day. There's concern out here, but
Absolutely.
we're not being heard in St. Paul. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yep.
I don't know that I heard any, like, she had a lot of problems. I would still recommend you guys maybe a no change in case you would like to appeal to the board later on potentially.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if we don't do it, then can she still appeal?
If you don't do it, then she can't appeal.
Well, I'll make a motion that we do a no change on Julie's Kraus, correct?
Julie Kraus, yeah.
Kraus.
Kraus,
Krause
I'm
lot.
sorry.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Opposed, carried.
Gail, Gamer? Oh, Gamer, okay, thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
How do you spell your last name,
Okay,
Bill?
2 years ago. that would be,
Gaumer.
Thank you, sorry.
For tax, for valuation in 21. You see, now that was 2020 payable in 2021. My assessed value was 374.5. In tax value 2022 that I'm paying this year, the assessed value is 534,000. That's a 40% increase in the value of my property in 1 year with no improvements. I've owned the place 20 years, bought it in 2003, and it's a townhouse. You can't do additions. You can't do, some folks have put some really nifty remodeling into their places that I can't afford to do. But I've had no improvements. So that was 40%. For next year, the proposed value is 648,000. I've only got I've got facts. In 2020, I had to refi the mortgage. It was a situation. And my townhouse was assessed by the bank's appraiser at 300,000. I think banks are a little more conservative than people deciding to tax me on the value. It's just a thought that has crossed my mind. The bank doesn't want to lend money on a, on a risky level. Government doesn't mind taxing you by a higher level. But anyways, $648,900 next year. I really want, I think the 40% change from the taxes, the tax value in 2022, 2021 to 2022, the 374 to 534. I really don't think that I got a $490,000 offer when I had some folks going out and seeing who'd be interested in my townhouse. That was 8 months ago. I'm not selling it. I mean, I think 534, the value that you set it at, that I'm paying taxes on this year, is probably pretty close. I didn't do any of the fancy stuff that, I mean, when people are buying a place, they're not looking at the square feet. They're looking at the floor plan, and then they're looking at, but anyways, I'm here because that's another 25% increase. When you increase the value of my property 40% in 12 months, I don't think that increase is right. I don't think it's accurate. And I have nothing the thing, it's a townhouse. You got to compare it to townhouses. The lot is 3 feet beyond the walls. And of course, there's a shared wall that, that's the size of the lot. And you've also got to think that it is restricted ownership. Because it's part of each fairway, there's a restriction. You cannot, anybody that buys the place knows they cannot use it for more than 4 weeks between May 1st and September 30th. It is not, a place that you can let some relatives use and you can come up there for a month yourself. It's not like that. It's got some restrictions. And I don't know, what's happened to the other townhouses at a Clearway, except that, I saw them, somebody, the extra separate entrances, the patios that they have put out that I can't do the way my townhouse is located, even if I wanted to. I would be encroaching on the common area. It kind of depends on how you're. I would ask that one reconsider the proposed valuation of, $648,000 for next year, and just maybe bring it down to, it's 534 this year, maybe 550. Sure, but it is not true. It did 40%, a 25% increase from this year's, the 2022 valuation of the property. Adding another 25% for next year, it's killing me, and it's not fair. It just, I did my personal look around. Between what the bank assessor said, I thought they were being conservative, and what the one person, well, there were a couple other offers, 400, 425. There's no, this isn't correct. And just try to compare it to another place with restrictions, and it's got to be a townhouse. Freestandings don't count. There's no garage. There's no, the amenities are the roof. For you, it's missing a lot.
A couple of things for you guys while you're looking. On the map, hers is highlighted in blue. Unfortunately, this doesn't show up on the thing when I bring it up here. But so every other one, there were 2 other properties sold right there, and they're all connected. But 2 out of the 5 were sold this year. After our adjustments and everything, the first sale, it sold for 471,632 square feet, built in 1994. Her property is 3,713 square feet, built in 2004. The next property that was sold was for 435. That's 1,600 square feet, another built in 1994. Now it's only 10 years, but still older, and half the size of her end unit. So when you break that down, we're looking at trying to get comparables here, or just a comparable. She's assessed at $174 a foot. Sale 1, that would be just 2 down from her, sold for $288 dollars a square foot, and the other property in the same building, you can kind of say, sold for $267 per square foot. So both sales in her area sold for $288, $267. She's assessed at $174.
I'd like to comment just,
Yes, ma'am. I'm just saying what's out there.
you do want to knock about 400 square feet off of that, because Hassan and I bought it. It was existing. It was in use. It was a couple of years old. And the thing is that the staircases, feel free to ask, Grandview to let you have access for a minute. The staircases are 6 feet wide.
Sure.
They are, and it's 3 floors, and it is, they go up, down, and up. And it's about 60 feet of staircase at 6 feet wide. There are those 2 that you mentioned that sold this year, both of those, the owners put fair amount of money into, rehabbing. I mean, they upgraded those things,
Okay,
and there's probably permits. I doubt they did the work themselves. You're gonna, if you wanna check electricians and plumbers and whoever's permits on file for the work they did in the last like 18 months, 2 years. And I have not done anything, but no, I don't know the last time it sold. The one that is the first unit coming in, that's the one that they've got a gorgeous outdoor patio and stuff. I can't do, kind of. The land behind mine is downhill. You can't put out a patio when the grade is like that. Kind of thing, and the way the property is set up, like I said, I've got 3 feet beyond the walls, and that's so that they can prevent my farmhouse from sliding down the hill.
oh,
It did separate. 2 years after we bought it, we had built-in bookcases and came in. All the books have slid down because something had gone wrong. Northside came out and fixed that. It was less than 10 years after construction.
okay.
But the doors wouldn't close because the door jams were like that. So,
Are they, did that all straighten out when they jacked it back up?
yeah, they did whatever they had to do, no problem.
Okay,
The big fear, my next door neighbor, Ed Rather bought it, and I think it's now belonging to his kids, whatever. They were up on the roof looking around to make sure that my townhouse went down. It wouldn't take Ed's place with it. That was, the roof was fine, but they let, I mean, I can't do what other people have done. And it would, I mean, it's beyond the realm. Consider taking, narrowing those staircases, changing, pulling them out. When that's too expensive.
can I ask, do you get, these are all pretty much income properties, producing properties, right? Nobody really lives in these.
You can't during the summer.
Are you able to charge more for the stay than your neighbors? Do you have like an extra bedroom or two?
Actually, you'd have to ask that question.
Or to Grandview?
Grandview.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they manage it. They set the rents, and the rents are actually in the summer, they're how many adults, how many kids, and kids
Right.
are $50 a night, and adults are, so it's not how many rooms, it's how many people
You can get in there.
occupying.
Okay.
Mine is the only unit there that is kept. I think there's probably, an extra $20 a night or something they're charging for the check. And there is a check there.
Okay.
But yeah, I asked the rates. They just had their partners weekend last weekend, and they've got some kind of computer thing there where rates vary. Basically, as of the day you make your reservation, your rates are based on what everybody else is, all the other properties are resorts and the hotels and stuff, what kinds of deals they're offering. So it's not even, well, we charge, it used to be $75 an adult and actually $50 per child, children under 5, free. 30 years ago. I don't know what it is now.
Okay.
I don't know, but they changed, maybe instead of $80 a night, they're gonna charge 110 because everybody's full up, and if anybody now wants a reservation, you can do that, or maybe it's, I mean, you want a weekend in February, it's $206 for, and that's for the weekend, Friday to Sunday. Breakfast buffet breakfast included. I got one of those emails last February, so that's, my husband passed away a decade or so ago. So I don't do those couples things by myself. It would have been $206, one person order.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
but, so yeah, you gotta talk to them about it. Depends.
When you guys assess a property and income, a property of this nature, the condominium, whatever, however it's based on, does the interior, other than square footage, does the interior, the state of the interior, is that factored in?
Oh, absolutely. The condition of the property is definitely needs to be taken into
Is
consideration.
that something you've had an opportunity to look at and see?
On this one, I believe, did we go out there last year? I feel like that too. I remember, I think we spoke a couple times. I know on the two that sold, we do have some remodeling taken into consideration on those. Yeah. Really?
Oh, that's the unit at the other end?
Lack of access through the basement is only available through exterior. That's bizarre.
No, you
Is that
have,
even-
They were.
Does that even fit the code? That doesn't sound like it is fit. the code.
Was it
But
lack-
they're saying
See
it's
the photo,
not her
I
property,
think
maybe
this
it's
is
the
a
other
They
one.
were renting it out as a separate rental.
yeah, see, it's got a door.
Wow.
there. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
sure know how to ring a buck out, Granby does, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, sure.
Huh.
On this one, we were just, we're basically 100 square foot lower than the two that sold.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess, I mean, you've spoken about sale. Are you looking at a potential sale of this property? Since you've mentioned it a couple times, you had a bank providing a valuation on it, and now you have two very recent comps of 2 units in the same block. Is there intention for that?
It's a possibility. I just didn't want to sell for $490 when you guys said my property was worth $535, and according to my experience, generally places sell for more than the assessed value, unless the assessed value is totally screwy. But as for, no, I got enough of a mortgage to be able to deal with my situation. But to assess it at only 300 was, I mean, at that time, I had about 375,000 tax assessed value here. But I think 650,000 is over the top, based on my personal experience and based upon.
Okay.
There's, it would be a lot larger if the staircase is 6 feet wide. I have been in, years ago, we used to come up and we would, we spent, us and our kids, we would spend spring break at one of the 8-story townhouses. Mine and Ed's and the one on the other side hadn't been built yet. And that's why we decided to buy one of the units, ways to stay there, and gorgeous porch. I mean, just, it's, 2 of those units are much nicer and probably, well, they don't have the walkout. That's the difference in square feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they've got a couple of bedrooms and a nice living room and a porch.
Okay.
I can't do.
Just, the taxes and for 2020 were 4880. that was at a value, 439, then it went to 433. But you'll see now her taxes for this year, 4,500 basically. Well, they still are less than they were 3 years ago with substantially higher values. So I get there, but there isn't too many things that aren't increasing, but the taxes don't seem to maybe be out of line as far as if you look at a 5-year look back.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'll proceed and provide a recommendation for no change.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll follow up with a letter with you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a few write-ins for the council. The first one's quite long. I'll let you guys have the letter here for a little while, and you just let me know and give one to Ginny over there too. When you guys want us to, or you guys are ready to talk about it. He didn't know if he can make it or not. This is an attorney. And he will take this to the Supreme Court if he has to. Something like that.
Well, I agree with everybody. Needs to be something done in the state about how we do this, but last I checked, nobody here has that power. I mean, we can make recommendations, but then the question is, what's fair? You're never gonna get fair.
But if you
Somebody-
take like the last lady with her taxes are $300 less than,
Right.
2 years ago.
Well,
I don't think she's
Did-
looking to sell it anyway. I'm like, what do you think about it? You got one for yourself, one for Jenny?
No.
Oh,
They have this checking sheet and a top sheet.
oh, she needs another one.
Yeah, I'll get into.
Oh, that's actually. House right down the road from me sold for 1.4.
I'm trying to convince you it's not broken.
That's for this.
Sure.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know, and house right down the road from me on Tall Timber is the second comp sale of one.
Was this guy down by you?
No, not the subject property. Comp sale number one is,
this guy here.
that place sold for 1.4. My little Rambler would definitely be a bit more than that. I'm 5 down from that Holman Point property.
Oh,
The big
okay. Oh, the big log one,
Yeah, what's that one at now? That used to always be our neighborhood's,
benchmark.
yeah,
You-
Oh, the one
best
on the
you
point?
do.
yeah.
Yeah. I used to take people by that one.
They split that then and they sold
3 ways, I believe. No,
And then they got the bare lot. Did something get
the
built? there?
home, the boathouse, and then the bare lot, a bare lot. The home just got finished, I want to say before winter.
Okay.
And that's a beautiful home, family from Montana. And I think that was like-
I think his name was. I'd have to go out there almost every year and we'd talk about this crack in the beam or, this or that, and the home wasn't worth what we had on it, but it was a difference. Good to see what the other people live like.
Yeah. Okay.
So when you look at this one comparable too, if you just
Would you,
notice.
ma'am, I don't mean to interrupt, would you be able to zoom out so we can get a good view of, no, yeah, I gotta get the eagle view. Okay, good.
Okay, so we
East of Grandview.
East Linda.
Yeah.
And that's this
Thank you.
one here that we're looking at.
Subject property.
And comparable to, if you just to note that they tore that house down, so they basically paid 1.1 million for the land on your sheet in front of you, when you look at that.
And they tore this house down.
No,
No.
this is the subject property.
Okay.
It's a beautiful home.
You got there was a deal at Menards on white paint the day they put that up.
Yeah. So this is the letter they wrote to.
Yeah, it is kind of lengthy, so I'd give you guys some time to, how much you wanted to review, and then Sheila put this comp sheet together for you folks. The big thing is that they bought the home in 2020 for 1.3, if you see when he actually bought it. So they were up about 12% on the overall estimated market value from when they bought it in 2020 to 2023 today. I don't know that a 12% increase over 3 years from what they actually bought it for is maybe out of line. That's how I just would sum this one up when we looked at it. That's,
I'm right across, I'm right across the bay from this property and mine has doubled since I bought mine and
Mine only went up 12%.
We knew you were coming to-
23.
Well,
I don't
excuse me.
even have Lakeshore
we were
property.
coming to the council, so we were getting you prepared.
yeah, can I sit on that side, please? Okay.
Yeah, and they got some really nice shoreline. Oof.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
In my opinion, it's the nicest on the chain. Lake and chain.
It's really nice in there. Almost as nice.
I
as
know all
the
these
Pinkies
homes.
On East Twin, hers is just about as good.
Well,
Yeah, but you'll have the crappies now in just a little bit.
you do know that those lily pads are all rubber and she just rolls them out when you do assessments, right?
When the assessor comes out, yeah.
Sorry, Kiki.
Can you please pull up the value again?
Value screen, sure.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. I don't think that's out of line. I mean, I know that area far too well. It's just. You'll have somebody else he's from Minnetonka, you'll have somebody else from Minnetonka coming to buy that cash for more than that.
I'll be honest with you. I think Lakeshore property across the state of Minnesota is ridiculous, but it's what it is.
It's
So,
the,
and if you're trying to sell it, you're happy. Yeah. So,
well, you're upset if you're an individual. I mean, fairly even like yourself, your family's had this
But-
property for 100 years. You hate to see the little guy squeezed. And I'm not calling anybody a little guy, but we are a taxpayer in an area that is so desired right now. I feel bad for myself and I don't pity really anybody in this world. We're all sinners. But when it comes to our small municipal here,
we are.
you're not going to get away from this. I don't even care if the Fed drops rates by multiple basis points in the next 3 years, you're still gonna see these rates. Why? We don't have lakes popping up out of the ground.
Ain't making
You
any.
can cut trees down and build homes off water, but so I'm gonna recommend no change on this.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Another written appeal coming your way. I'll leave one for you though. Oh, yeah. Are you
You
ready?
want to see some contrast? Let me know and I'll bring you
28
the property my grand,
100.
great grandpa owned in Pelican from the 20s,
Hmm.
30s, and what it was going for versus today. So it's old great grandpa, if you only knew.
Thanks.
We're talking almost a mile of it. 1,000
Oh,
feet,
yeah.
200 and some dollars. But he paid for it all.
Now you want to wait.
I went out.
Question for the county, how are you viewing? And this is just for my education, how are appraisals from? How are appraisals viewed on your end? Are there any considerations when it comes to assessed value?
It's really a great question. They're really good appraisers. Or appraisals, excuse me, and there maybe are sometimes not very good appraisals. So anytime somebody gets an appraisal, we ask if we can review it.
Yep.
And I would say about half the time we agree that it's a pretty good indicator. I think half of the time they might be not necessarily appraising for the full market. They might have a different intended use. So you just got to be kind of careful with those, but the unfortunate thing with appraisers is they get to go and pick, whichever comps they want. We have to use them all, so we don't get to kind of pick and choose. But they definitely are somebody's opinion of value. But the biggest thing that happens, let's just say somebody got an appraisal yesterday. We set our value as of January 2nd.
Right.
So if they pick comps from the last 60 days, we haven't even gotten to use them yet. So that would be like a really big, that's one of the biggest things we see a difference on
It's
is
Strewed.
the time that, line as far as what we get to use and appraiser gets to use.
Okay.
But they're still a good indicator, maybe, of what something's worth sometimes.
And this is homesteaded.
Correct. Yeah. You go back to the.
There's 4 garages on this property?
Yep, got 4 garages. Yeah, pictures. of it. There's one. Oh, keep that. Yeah, there's a little one. Could use. Another one.
Okay.
This is. Kind of like Orion. They have a lot of garages. They got a lot of stuff.
This was off Upper Roy Lake Road, right?
Yeah, if we
off
go
the
back to
east,
the
isn't it?
map.
Oh, it
And there we go.
goes,
There we
it
go.
goes north of.
So there's this little channel that cuts
Yep.
kind of through the weeds
Yeah.
there, between Nisswa and Roy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in there one time, I took the wrong turn. I'm like, how did I get down in here? I just couldn't get out of there.
Um, Yeah, I almost lost $3,000 of earnest money on a house right across that channel.
Oh, really?
On the island?
Yeah, I was boating through one day in the middle of summer. No, not the island. Yeah, off Highland there. I was boating by one day and I saw a hired contractor from Fannie or Freddie, whoever it was at that time, and the door was open on the main level of the house. So I just stopped on the boat, walked off the land. I'm like, what are you doing? This guy had a soap bucket in one hand and he had mold killer in the other. And Fannie or whoever hired this guy to go and spray the 2x4s from all the green mold that I didn't see. I just was one day away from losing the earnest money. Got out of it.
Good thing you were driving by.
Yeah, God wanted me to go to Zorba's that day.
Mhm.
Never dealt the need for a beer.
Okay, can we
recommend-
go to the valuation again? I'm sorry, I just want to see one.
So that's where we're at. Okay.
Yeah, so it increased from 640 to 659 or basically 660. So $20,000 increase.
I'm gonna recommend.
I
no
recommend
change.
no change.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And what was up with, here's another written. What was up with Nancy?
Didn't we have a stack like this of written in last
Oh.
year or 2 years ago?
Oh, yep. We just got this one this morning, yeah. Maybe we'll save that because we don't have a lot on it. Let's go with this one. And this one. Appreciate you coming in.
I'll just throw them at everybody. How many are we covering right now?
28360537.
Okay. Cool.
It's okay.
Well, I just,
Oh, on round? Yeah, they probably talk to each other.
I remember really growing up with green. First time you heard about $100.
Well, when I came up here in 09, and I thought $1 million was still a lot, and it was. Now $1 million that's kind of common. It's incredible.
Hopefully they earned it. But either way.
And again, when we put these together for you, all we're doing is just a quick, here are some that have sold, and we literally just work through quick. So they got a bigger garage, bigger house, older, all that, and we just kind of come up with, make the subject, or the comparable, the similar as the subject to give us an indication for you guys to consider. You know, it's kind of like a, you know, almost say a mini appraisal, but we don't have all of the testimony and stuff, you know, in front of it or behind it, but just for valuation purposes or assessment purposes.
What do they, oh, they have more lakefront than they do backage.
Where was this? Oh, this is on the point around. Yeah.
So the fact that they have okay, it's slab basement, and then there's just a crawl space, so there's not even a slab underneath it. Or do we know that? Is it a,
Most of the time, though, that house has probably got a crawl space and it's got concrete floor in it.
Yeah.
okay,
So all the difference is at 3 to 4 feet, they maybe can get a small water heater or at least more of their ducting underneath the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Ma's place had plastic,
Oh, yeah, some crawl spaces are not so hot. Yeah.
you know,
Mine.
well, the concrete makes a difference,
Yes, yeah, it really keeps it, dries it up a lot more.
and it's clean. It's
Yeah.
not so bad.
Could you go to the value, please? Value history. The really big skew in these 7 years. Showing, yeah, I mean, the jump in 21 to 20, excuse me, from 22 to 23, right?
21 to 22 last
21
year
to
was the
22.
big one, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's where I would say this appeal season. I don't know if it was half, but I'd say it's close to half. They want to talk about that yet. Not so much this year's
Yeah.
value, but they really want to talk about that increase from last year.
Right.
That's showing up on the taxes this year, you know.
Well, and again, it's going up. From 21 to 22, it went up less than $1,000. Right?
Yep.
Or no, a
79
little over.
79 to 8,700,
So it's,
about $800.
now, some of these are going up a lot less than mine did, and I don't live on the lake at all, okay?
Mhm.
Is that because lakeshore properties tend to be adjusted more frequently? And so you kind of keep it closer, in value than others, or is
No,
that just
oh,
whatever?
it
Just
really is, the set sales period. Here are all the sales. I just kind of try to do this ad lib, but here's all the sales in Nisswa.
got it,
First cut we do is on off water,
okay,
every year. And then what you start to get is, as the off water properties increasing as much as on water or vice versa. Rule of thumb, I've only been here 14 years. Usually Lakeshore is always more of a strong market in our area than off water, even though what's really interesting about off water property in the last couple, but for sure this season, we've really had to increase off water property, that there's just no supply out there. There's just and I know interest rates are going up and they're even up since October. But we continue to hear folks saying, I can't find a home, I can't find a home. So that, let's say 200 to maybe 500,000 right in there, I think is still very, very limited with how many homes are out there for sale.
okay, all right,
If that kind of makes sense, Mr. Mayor,
that make that.
a little bit, I hope.
I have one question.
Well, actually, I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Got a question?
I'll ask after.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
What's the catalyst for what's the main driving catalyst for bringing these valuations or assessments down
If you guys were gonna, you mean for us or for you guys?
for you
Well,
guys?
for us, anytime that we see that we're probably over 100, so if we have a set of 10 sales.
Yeah.
Median sale is over 100%, we're probably dropping values.
Okay, got it.
Okay, that was Wilcox, it's due. Another written, this one's a little more short and sweet. This just came to us this morning, so we don't really have anything mocked up, but we can definitely look at anything you guys would like. Oh, parcel number 2824-0592. Yeah, does she own on the lake, one of those somewhere? It doesn't matter,
This one's on Hubert, isn't it?
but yes, sir, yeah. This is probably one of the number one kinds of property in the county this year that was increased at the highest, one of the highest rates is take an acre or less and depends on the shape and size and stuff, but this directly behind or across the road or something from a lakeshore parcel, we have seen tremendous amounts of money paid for. If I can get my shed or I, have another place to park my boat or, whatever. These types of little pieces of land have, from a percentage standpoint, definitely were increased quite a bit this year from what people are paying for this stuff.
Can you go back to the map? Cause that's 13 and that's Lake Hubert.
Yeah.
And the red piece is the piece we're discussing.
Yeah, that she's,
It's a
gotcha.
non-buildable lot. Neighbors don't even want it. I'm familiar with this one. I mean, the same thing is happening out by us. So. I don't know.
How wide is this thing?
It's only 75 feet wide.
Where's the driveway on it?
What's
Dirt?
that?
Oh, it's a dirt driveway.
Autumn Lane kind of comes right in there. yeah.
Okay.
So he's not even using
Mm-mm.
just a portion of it. He's cutting across neighbors' properties to get across that lot to get to his. And is that city or is that private road? That's just. Yeah. Angel Lane, yeah, that's gotta be. Can you back out just a little bit more? Where is that from? Okay, and, right there, right just like, okay, that's. Yeah, I know, all right,
You got an idea where that's
I know
at?
exactly where it's at, I'm just remembering. Okay. So.
What do you recommend?
We had something like this last year with those lots on Roy and then those ones that were like 25 feet wide and
Yeah.
that catastrophe. It was just, I mean, I don't even know why they would have, but I think it was an old resort and everybody got 25 feet with the property on the other side of the road so they could still get to the other lake and it was goofy. This is kind of sort of the same thing, but I
What'd you guys do then?
But what we did is we kept
kept the valuation of the same.
as what it was. And then there's a formula that you guys used, isn't there, on those smaller?
Yep,
One.
and how it typically works unless a city or town, well, it's usually a city, because then we do the rest of the zoning in the county. Let's just say if a piece of ground is literally unbuildable, that is a game changer. But like if you have a 75-foot lot, I don't know what the setback here is in the city of Nisswa. For the county, it's 10-foot side yard setback. I mean, you could still get a 30 by 40 or 30 by 50 full
Ours
shed
are-
on here, more than likely.
Ours is
Ours are 15.
Oh, 15, so you'd still could have, let's say, a 30 or 36 by something garage sitting in there if you want it.
Mhm.
But they need to have a, what's the width, don't we have a minimum width for lots in town? I thought our minimum buildable width was 100 feet. I can't remember.
That's why I wish Bethany was here, because we have a minimum.
But that's gonna change, that might change too, because we
Right.
haven't got to that
Well,
version.
And that's where,
Yeah, that's what,
the only, and then
because this
they,
would be within the water
shoreland.
shoreline. I'll remember it.
So
one
if
day.
they bring us a piece of paper that says we've been denied a variance to build and this is unbuildable, then we start talking about just a residual land value. Till then, these are those types of properties people are paying a lot of money for to get that extra space, because a lot of these lakeshore are, there's very little you can do with them anymore.
That's right.
With what you already have on there.
You gotta build a shop across the
Yep.
road. Use Green Gables, for example,
Oh, yeah,
right?
exactly.
Or now even, if you go to Lakeshore County Road 77, John Allen's Toy Barns. You can't
If
even
I
call
was
it a
that
toy-
neighbor, I
That could be
would
called a
buy that
museum.
property in a heartbeat, add it to mine, build the storage, and then charge all my neighbors to store their
Yeah.
clothes right there.
Well, I
Boom,
don't
I need my
understand.
money and no.
There you
I
go.
literally don't understand. You can't make enough storage in this county. You see what keeps getting built around here? It's
Well, we don't
unbelievable.
allow mini storage in town anymore. Don't get me started.
I'll
I mean,
make,
Sullivan was the last one that got to build. Oh,
I'll make a motion to, propose no change.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, if we have somebody. I hate to have to lead people around by the nose, but if we have something like this, do you send them or do we send them, or have you had cities send them a letter saying, hey, are you aware of your options? I mean, me personally, I would call you. Set up a time, come in and say, what are my options? You know, like, what can I do with this? How do I go about getting this, just like you said, frozen in time? And then you explain to me, because I could probably come to the city, get that, not, you ain't getting a variance.
yeah, we haven't done that kind of follow-up. And we probably couldn't do that because it's in the city. I mean, I know Chris right now knows your guys' ordinance, but you know, I'm not gonna have them.
Well, I'm just
Talk
wondering
about
if
it.
that's something the city wants to do for landowners or taxpayers, but do we want to get involved in that too? I mean, at some point in time, for Christ's sakes. If I'm the landowner, ask.
Well, and that's all we're asking is if, I mean, there's one thing to say, we don't use it or whatever. If it is not buildable, show us, and then we will definitely really have a very clear what, you know, that the value's been impacted.
And Bethany would know that, so if they were to call her, she would probably tell them, but good, okay.
I would buy that for the tax market value. Thanks for the advertisement.
Sheila's gonna walk you through one of her recommendations to you. Sheila's one of our newer assessors. After last assessment season. Think of a 5-day county board of appeal. We've never went over 6 hours. We went to 5 days. We lost 7 assessors that said, we don't want to do this. That's how rough it was. So. Not scaring our new folks.
Why did they not want to, did they say why?
Well, some of them just said, you know, it's not worth getting yelled at for, you know, 2 months out of the year. You know, you gotta have thick skin like the Ryans do, you know.
Well, I don't know. There's a small line. Beauty of being Irish.
Oh, there you go.
Did
Is that what Don is? Is he Irish? That explains a lot. Oh.
Irish, German.
No, I like shepherd's pie. I mean, it's good. I like a Reuben. Oh, is that Scottish? That's not Irish?
One has the maple on it and pine shape. And so what I did, yeah, the red one.
The other one you were just at.
The pie shaped one is where the home is on. And he was appealing his value due to, he thought that it was too high. So with Sandra's assistance, what I did is instead of just doing the frontage, you know, calculating just the frontage, we did the angle method. You chunked out that 200 and then we did the depth on the other little piece, which then lowered the value. So the before value on that was 507,500. And then after I made that adjustment to the frontage to be more fair to the angle method,
it went down to 465,300. And that's all I did to that property was just use the angle method instead of just using the 70 front feet, the 200, because he really truly didn't have 200 because it was a pie shape.
What she was referring to is just a method that we try to use on these pie-shaped lots, you know, when they have much more frontage at the lake shore and they kind of point out to the back, so there's less frontage or road frontage in the back. It's usually not the same as having a straight rectangular lot. You know, maybe if this were like, you know, a full 70 feet, it wouldn't be the same as having a full rectangular 70 feet. Lacks some buildability on it, and so we try to use some depth adjustment to account
Okay.
for that.
So then, and this might, I don't want to muddy the water too much. But so take the gentleman that we first spoke to, the K kind of shape. Why not take the angles, if you call the angle, at corner to corner, draw a straight line and then apply the same method?
We did the depth adjustment on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, there was 2 depth adjustments because the K got skinnier. So you had the 200 chunk and then there was a depth adjustment in another one because there's 2 chunks.
Got it.
And then the second piece that the second piece that he owns is in the blue portion. In 2023, what we didn't do is we didn't combine the 2 parcels together. And when we do the 2 parcels together to be a common ownership group, just by doing that, it decreased the value. So it started at 44,200. And once I put the 2 pieces together as a common ownership group, it went down to 28,900.
Wow.
And the piece separating the 2 pieces?
It's just a road or just a dirt, like their driveway. And as long as it's a contiguous piece, we can put it together.
So there's obviously then must be some type of a permanent easement there or something.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Because that's that same Angel Lane that we were working with earlier. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Get close to Lake Edward, things get funky.
I got confused when I went to getting PDF from this area, because every time I took curves, I took wide curves. And my cat kept saying, you don't have to go around the lake. Is that it?
Oh,
Okay,
a motion to approve the changes that were recommended.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Is there anything else, Gary?
I believe that's it. We would just, if you guys have any other questions for us, or, I believe we just need a motion to adjourn.
I just have one quick question, and, since we're the last city in the county to do it, to be offering this to our citizens, so that we can bring it back if the other council members have questions or other people have comments about why we should maybe not. Do you think that, if there's a value in this for cities to do it, does that help you? Does it hurt you? Does it make it more difficult?
And you know, I think it's, if the city council of whatever city wants to do it, and they're taking the time to analyze the data, I think it's a great thing, you know? But for a lot of cities, it's like they don't feel like they're maybe understanding or getting the concepts and or feel like they're doing a good service to their customers. Because they also didn't like if they were doing like a bunch of no changes, and they're like, what are we doing here if we're not making any changes? And then they felt like maybe we should be making changes. And they're like, you know, why are we even doing this at all? You know, but I think it's very council specific if you guys are comfortable or not. I think a lot of folks here, while I know they might have said they come to the county board and some will, but my experience is once they feel they were heard here, they're probably, you know, content for this even, most of them. Because they just want to hear somebody else other than us.
Say that we understand what you're going through. We're
Well, we could-
experiencing the same exact increases.
I think that's what you guys actually just did, showed a lot of empathy. And
Empathy.
understanding. Even though maybe you didn't, at the end of the day, make some changes, I think they really did take care of you.
And I think too, when you're
Mr.
creating
Johnson,
your market, like you seem to be, that really does help in people's understanding.
I just think when Mr. Foster comes, you might want to say you got 10 minutes.
Well, normally we tell people when we have like an open forum or public comment, you get 5 minutes and we watch the clock. Yeah. Oh, well, there's only 4. Well, I'd like to say thank you. And God bless your work, because we understand how difficult it can be and frustrating it can be, especially having to go through this.
I was getting nervous.
And we'd rather have them yell at you guys than not. No.
No quorum. Yeah, and I need to take off because
Yep.
we have a bid
So I
due
will
in 2
entertain a
hours.
motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second by Jesse. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Yep.